so much, Torino Stratosferica, for inviting me today, and I'm really happy to be here. I just would like to know our audience a little bit better before I adapt the content to share with you. Are we in the room mostly optimist, pessimist, or pessimist? Let's start with the first one. Who is optimist? Wow, okay. Really interesting. I see about almost a quarter of the room. How about pessimist? Interesting. Okay, we just kind of doubled the earlier one. And pessimist. Good. But they put their hands the highest for some reason. So, okay, I'm really happy because this is why we have this discussion. It's a discussion. I'm not going to give a presentation. You are not here for a lecture. So we do have about 45 minutes. I will take you to Mars for about 20 minutes, and then I'll open the discussion. But I think it's really important to be here and to make this cause. So I really thank you guys for doing this. You know, the city is designed with all these brilliant people that actually know how to treat reality of the day, to project it to the future and use the existing technology that we have today. And that's exactly how I at first formulated on projecting how Mars could be like for the future inhabitants. So if we want to go to Mars and send humans to Mars, I thought we need to include architects and urban designs. The reason why urban designers as well is because at the beginning, at the early journey of space, we only have, you know, like defense and military program for the reason why we have space activities and spend that much money to invest in the technology. But more and more, space becomes more accessible for people, and mostly in the room between the optimist pessimist and pessimist, they completely hate the idea. And they always ask me, why Mars, why space, why not Earth? So I will answer that. Please keep the banana and tomatoes a little bit for later, not to throw on my face yet. So that was kind of how I started this journey of being a marschitect. And yes, that name is new. I kind of created it just so that it doesn't create any confusions. So at the beginning, when I was dreaming about space and going to Mars, I was about 11. And that was the only time I could feel freedom and hope in a place in Jakarta, where I was born in not a very, you know, comfortable condition. And the only, I think, time that could aspire me to pursue my creative journey was that I could look at Mars and understand, wow, we are just a dot of nothing in the middle of the galaxy. And I started that journey, and I, as an architect in Los Angeles, was not really popular in, you know, we cannot really find a job basically in the space industry. And it's because they need engineers that are hardcore and being able to collaborate with other engineering teams. And so that at first actually inspired me to create a children's book called Mr. Blue. And in the story of Mr. Blue, it was an experiment for me. I created a city called Yumukashipi, which doesn't mean anything, but it's a place where everyone is an architect. So I kind of wanted to revenge the story. Like, everybody's an architect, and Mr. Blue is specialized in creating windows. So one day, Mr. Blue wants to go away. He wants to escape his reality. He wants to adventure. And everybody says, no, don't do that, because then our houses have no windows. How can we do? So the book makes me actually realize later that it's important to have a team of multidisciplinary. And I created Mars City Design because I would like to make sure that the people who design the cities, future cities on Mars, would not be only engineers, but including everyone, humans that actually will be feeling well living on Mars. And let's not repeat the same mistakes that we do here on Earth. So my position as someone advocating Mars here and working on this project for the rest of my life, dedicating all my time to it, is because I would like to make sure and participate and make sure that all the next generations could follow the path to respect the nature that is on Mars today, and also the nature of who we are. And so it's called the Marschitecture because the engineering, the space engineers are actually already having a program called Mars Architecture, which has nothing to do with building architecture. It's all about systems engineering planning. So how we design the mission, what kind of goals that we need to do, and so how much budget we have, and we have to program the departure, which time is it the closest orbit from Earth, and all of that is in this architecture, space architecture and Mars architecture. So that's why when I speak about the architecture human habitats on Mars, I would call it Marschitecture. That's just one of the image that we did for the Louvre Museum. It's my background in architecture. I was working for a star architect in south of France, Rudy Ricciotti, who also did the museum. And that was when I really fell in love with the beauty of nature that we can transport to the future, the place where we will live for a while. And so just to understand that today, with the kind of beauty in architecture that we will build, it's actually, is it really significant for the wellness of the inhabitants? I would like to ask that question and not really have the answer yet. So this is when I use the artificial intelligence to give me its image of, the future utopian version of Turin. And this is what it gave me. So that's what the AI machine envisioned as utopia in this town. It's quite interesting. And I really wonder if the word utopia or the condition of wellness in the word utopia resonate with the fact that, it's enough to design something aesthetics. I am really sorry that I have to bring up this image and this story. How many people knows about this building? Okay, great. I feel home. So, yeah, it's really sad because the vessel that was created by Thomas Heatherwick in 2016, standing in New York, was really an inspiration, a beautiful sculpture, architectural sculpture that wants to tell the story about New York and the humanity. And with so much bad luck that we needed about 4 suicides to show at least to teach me that it's not enough to just give an ice cream to someone who is in pain. I think our society is really in so much pain, not just because of the impact of COVID. I think the long effect of COVID-19 is still alive within us, all of us. It was the first time I was apparently diagnosed with depression. And as a baby, my mom was worried because when I was born, I wasn't even crying. She thought I was deaf or something. But I was just smiling, and I rarely cried. And so I have always been basically happy. Just everything looks beautiful to me and funny, and I always love having conversation with humor with people until only recently I realized that I don't like going out anymore. I really don't care that much about people. Maybe I just want to stay home and do that Zoom call very, very fast. Just try to dress up, top up, you know? And then so everything is really becoming weaker in terms of having joy and having the sense of appreciation of our life in the morning. So why am I talking about this a lot? I think it's just because, of course, we're all here to think about what kind of mindset we have to bring on the table when we are designing the next cities. Okay, we're talking about 8 billion people here in this conference. But yeah, so this is Beijing with 50 lines of freeway. I'm already terrified in LA. So this is about 10 times more or 5 times more. Is that a happy city? So I really think that there is a profound question that we rarely bring up in the architectural design. It's as if we just design for the joy of ourselves and not, and practicality, and trying to fit the budget and trying to fit the timing, and not really understanding how are humans evolving today. Is it enough for us to live in a city we don't even, look at people anymore? And when we go to a bar in New York, I used to easily just have a conversation, and not anymore because of at first COVID, but I think we take the habit to not make an effort to have a conversation, because at the end of the day, it's actually not that joyful anymore, maybe. So how can I live with all that and trying to suggest what a destination on Mars would look like? So of course, this is just a rendering. There is no city yet on Mars. But I would like to introduce you. This is Mars view from the future. Imagine it as a planet of transition for our intergalactic human occupation. So it's not just the final destination. The middle city that occupy this canyon is actually looking like a scar from far away. It is as big as the USA, in fact, Valles Marineris. So that's the very distinguished character for this planet. And it was inspired by the Japanese art of repairing the broken ceramic. It's called kintsugi. So when they break a ceramic, instead of throwing it away, they actually stick it back together and stick it with gold to show and commemorate and celebrate the accident or the pain that happened that has taught them something new. And it makes the ceramic having more character. And on top of that, I also realized, because I'm a little nerdy in biotech, I love that science very much. I believe that bacteria always live in the crack. And since humans are part of the living creature like bacteria, this is actually, that's just the beginning of the concept. However, I realized later, technically it will be the safest for humans to be able to live not underground, because psychologically it will be really challenging, because I can't even stand like an hour in a London subway, for example. How can we live underground with no sunlight and no view? So the Valles Marineris is really interesting for that, because it's right in the equator line, and you're able to be a little bit lower than the rest of the planet's surface. You are protected from radiation and meteorite impact if you're building your structure well. So that's why this logo for our Mars City design. Now, we have a lot of different artists and architects, musicians, chefs, everyone that actually care about, contributing their creativity in the design of future human habitats on Mars. And this one is an architect in Los Angeles who suggested that the future structures are going to be made of gold because of the radiation, but also it will invite more common people to see how simple the form and the beauty of the structure, and it reminds us to the stones on the beach on Earth. Sorry, the rocks. Now, I asked him like, so, his name is Thomas. Thomas, I can't really show this to my engineering team, because I think they're just going to be like, how are you going to build that? Oh, that's like a beautiful art. But yeah, give me something more realistic. And what's interesting is his vision for the future is really, of course, inspired by all this sci-fi, that the structures are going to be all hidden. We don't want any visual pollution. So all the secrets of how this is going to be realized is the responsibility of the engineers, and they will have fun to understand how they will hide it inside. This is, of course, the icon image of Arrival dunes. So we see all these giant mega infrastructure, and we see the human position. And of course, it's sci-fi. It's wonderful to watch, but do we imagine the mentality of the people who live in that? It is Blade Runner. And I think we have been cultured in the dystopian for so long that it's really difficult to become optimist. However, of course, there is beauty in dystopian and chaotic world. That's basically an expression, my expression when I try to, convey the idea that it's going to be fine. Mars will inspire us to design something happier today on Earth. So I am conscious that, we have to design for Mars tomorrow, but there is a responsibility to bring all of that to today, because we're impatient and we need something back, like right now, because we don't have time. Mars is not an escape destination. We want to naturally evolve as a human species to discover more about the unknown. So how did I bring all these people together is through different educational programs, understanding about Mars. And just to share a little bit with you, this was the beginning of our Mars City design. gala ceremony. We selected different designs that were submitted for the challenge. And you see Buzz Aldrin here. And he was one of the, I mean, he's kind of my hero because he was the first advocating about my program. And he was able to bring in, you know, the USC professors and as well as the Pasadena NASA JPL people who at the end are able to open the door for other people, artists, architects, and designers who are really passionate about it, but they don't have that background. So we all learn everything about Mars from scratch together and designing something together, including you know, how to grow hydroponics garden and to feed the astronauts. Now, fast forward, it was right before COVID, almost during COVID. We were so lucky that we were able to do this exhibition at the NASA Johnson Space Center, where I actually moved later. So I've been in Houston for 4 months now. I was in LA for 12 years, and that's how I built the Mars City design at the beginning. And now we are approaching more and more about understanding human performance in space and on the moon, on Mars, to learn like what will make them feel better, beside, of course, the beautiful architecture that we will provide, beside comfort, beside psychological wellness. And apparently, this is why we're in Houston.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
So I just wanted to give you that little reference, because every time I call someone and I said I'm in Houston, they always say, yeah, we have another problem here. And I say, well, you're lucky because now I'm in Houston, I can call someone else. So from that educational program, which is the workshop that I was discussing earlier, we created the different master plans that can help us today, like how to produce clean energy. So we partner with different energy companies that are trying to find a location in California, and I invite them to upgrade their design to make it adaptable to the Martian extreme environment. So for example, the wind power and also the hydrogen production. So what's interesting with the hydrogen production is that because Mars is very cold, actually the temperature, when you are at the Valles Marineris, where the image was, it's in the equator. It's probably the highest temperature is probably -20. So it's still kind of human, but most of the time it's -200. So it's perfect for actually hydrogen liquid, and we're pursuing that. But this is just a conceptual research that we're doing so that we can understand what kind of form. So please don't take it as a final rendering. It's just the way we will position our hydrogen storage vis-a-vis the NASA clean energy production as well, the kilopower. That's the kilopower from NASA. There we have the vehicle that are designed to directly absorb the liquid hydrogen. So we have a local transport system. So from those designs, we go from master planning to habitat to transport systems, and then also individual transport systems that become something really fun because they have been experimenting. I mean, they couldn't experiment the 1/3 gravity on Mars, but they have the idea of creating something that, like part of the spacesuit, that will be able to take people easily from one place to another, and it was inspired by the moonwalk we have. So from there, we have also, architectural designs that are inspired, of course, by the local landscape. And there is like a very distinguished form of dunes on Mars called the Martian dunes. And when we learn about how the dunes are formed, it's really interesting because on Mars there's not really that much atmosphere, so the wind is not that strong. How can it lift, the sand to make the dunes? And these dunes are actually moving, and they make babies. They make baby dunes. And what is interesting is actually when we talk about, radiation on Mars, because all of the solar wind. So the scientists have made, a lot of calculation and realized that there might be a big possibility that Mars was like Earth before, and that it became frozen because of the solar wind washing away all the atmosphere. And so there might be a lot of possibilities about having nature and life on that planet before, and that's why they're sending all these robotic missions to figure out how was the origin of life. Are we the planet after Mars, when Mars died somehow, that there was a splash of life that went to Earth? Maybe one of it is Elon Musk and he's trying to go back. That's just a lot of people's joke at the moment. But what we realize is that it's not designed for us humans today, for sure. Now, how can our architecture be part of the safety, protection, and the vehicle at the same time, while also, celebrating the natural phenomena on Mars, like these Martian dunes? We not only created the skeleton of it, it also needs to attract the sands so that we don't have to 3D print 29 meters of cement or soil or regolith to protect us from the radiation, because that's apparently the measurement that we're using for now. That's why they're like, why don't you just live underground in the cave or the lava tube? Well, because we're not trained to be isolated inside the ground. And the solution is actually bringing the ground up. And one of the structures are actually the structures of the dunes. So we are able to create the basic structure that actually enables the sand to deposit over time. Then it's half of the effort that we save already. So this was designed for the NASA competition, and now it's interesting. It's called the Alpha Dunes, And the interior also was adapted towards, the lower gravity. So when you're 100 kilo here, you might only weigh 38 there. So it's really interesting offer. So I believe that we don't have to create a furniture like we have here, like from IKEA, because there's a lot of renderings who are just putting, desk and chairs. The most important thing is understanding the payload transportation. How are you going to put all that in a very tiny compartment? And are the shapes going to inflate or to deploy? Are we going to just send a machine and mine it there and 3D print it the way we want? So this is a mix of it, and you see there is like a greenhouse inside for each unit, and you also see the pockets coming out of the walls. It's just because I believe that all activities could be integrated in the walls, and also since it's not that difficult to climb, we don't need every door to be right on the floor, and we also can easily going up and down without the stairs. So those are just experiments to really brainstorm. However, the outer concept has been, I think, adopted by NASA, and they assigned to Bjarke Ingo architect. And then there is the 3D printing company Icon that are making the prototype today at the NASA Johnson Space Center. And guess what? It's called the Dune Alpha. I think this is the most important part, that where we are today as Mars City Design on the 7th year, we no longer are in the conceptual design aspects. I'm really looking to see how can we send humans to Mars and that they survive the trip, because 6 to 9 months trip in space with the radiation shower every day, microgravity that will deteriorate your bone density, and all kinds of mental challenge that we will have is not designed for common people yet. So we have been working on something that I hope this word become popular very soon. So I don't know, anyone knows this word? Wow, I'm surprised. There is at least one. Thank you. I didn't know this word. And it's interesting because it's called eudaimonia. So I wish no one to die. But it's called eudaimonia. It's like you die of pneumonia. That's how I try to remember the name. But basically, it's the highest good of humans, and it's the beyond wellness of human condition. And it's actually different from Utopian or Utopia. It's really about your inner wellness, understanding, all kinds of spiritual and physical wellness that are all connected. So what's interesting is that from the macroscopic galactic vision, we can connect it with the microscopic scale. And I have been adventuring this world of microscopic life since last year. I met my collaborator, partner, Japanese team who are looking into human wellness from the point of view of microscopic life that we all have inside our body. And what I didn't know was that, I keep hearing people saying, listen to your gut, listen to your gut. Yeah, I've been listening to my gut, but if my gut is not healthy, like, good luck listening to my gut. So the gut is actually not the second brain. For me, it's like the first brain, because if you have a healthy microbiome population, you're actually able to think better, feel better, and just physically feel well. So we have been creating a supplement for astronauts to be able to evolve and become stronger as human beings just by upgrading their microbiome population in the gut. This is how we culture the 200 different strains that are selected from already extreme environment on Earth. So these are like extremophiles that create a super postbiotic complex. It's like a probiotic, but postbiotics, to make sure that this picture could be one day common postcards that all of us could send to each other. Because without it, I don't think we are strong enough to get the challenge of space. Now, from the human wellness, we want to also make sure that what we eat is actually really relevant, right? When you eat too much of sugar or too much of anything, it influences your energy, your mood, your hormone, your well-being. So we want to make sure that when we are going to Mars, not only in space, but once we're on Mars, we have the food supply that is not just there to feed us, to make us feel like nourished, but also to upgrade, to elevate its nutrition value, to support the everyday upgraded challenges that we have for our new extreme environment. And so this is a project that we're working on today to apply the same bacteria-based, but for plants. So it's basically plant nutrients, a fertilizer that will be helpful for indoor farming in extreme environment. So I also learned that, there's a lot of us trying to not eat processed food. I mean, I'm in Italy, so everything is so fresh and natural. I've been spoiled since I'm here with the food, and it's really difficult for me now to talk about this, but in America, we have a lot of greenhouses and very popular vertical farming that actually the goal is to save water, to create cleaner veggies, blah, blah. The problem is when these are like spoiled plants. Our body needs to have a bit extra resistance, extra nutrient, extra value when we eat something fresh. So when we eat something from the open outdoor perennial farming, which is natural, which is what I guess Italy possibly have, our body knows how to read the instructions of that nutrient. So it's able to actually absorb also the capacity of that plant fighting against its predators, insects, or, and of course, if you put pesticides, then your body also absorbs the pesticides. But if it's natural and that plants was survival of this really challenging weather, then you actually gain that resistance. That's what I learned. However, then now think about, humans who are living on Mars and they never come to Earth, but they eat this because it's grown indoor. Where is the nutrient value at some point, okay? So the idea is for us to reconnect with our nature and using the bacteria based of fertilizer that actually recall the plants how it is to have resistance and to become stronger. The DNA, the epigenetics that will be shifted by eating these plants. So with that, I just want to say that is how we approach our Mars city design planning today. I believe that if we are not healthy inside, outside, it will be really difficult to celebrate your beautiful design. So please consider not just the form of the space that we are designing for people in public or private, but not only educational as well, but also understanding that it's really important for people to reconnect with nature, but it doesn't mean that you have to plant trees everywhere, that suddenly it's all forest on Earth. Of course, I love that. What I'm trying to say is there are so much in microbiome inside our body, inside our mind, and both are connected, that is not explored yet or applied yet in our futuristic design. So that's my contribution for from Mars for you. Thank you. Grazie. I hope that was not too torturing.
Brava, Vera, brava.
Vera, thank you so much.
Yeah, we are in psychedelia now because I think that your message is really powerful. To build city, we have to look inside as human, and
I'm also happy that you.
That's a message from Mars.
I'm also happy that you said some other keywords. We heard many during these 3 days without knowing, and you just quoted epigenetics, which is another fantastic realm that we're going much deeper into, which is something. There are things that science cannot explain, and therefore science is not talking about. One, of course, is consciousness. We still don't know what consciousness is about, and there are some favorable stories about the fact that probably consciousness and cities probably emerge more or less during the same years, and epigenetics is one of those things that we still have to understand totally. So these reflections on how we should be able to look within ourselves to then go explore another planet is very deep indeed.
Yeah, if I have 2 more minutes to comment on what you just said. Maybe to be even more clear is that, you know, basically we're completely disconnected from one another. And our expertise is completely disconnected. Like, you know, I'm a dentist, you're an architect, he's an engineer, so what can we do? What if you're an architect, engineer, and also a hairdresser, and you as well, and me as well, and the way we build the city will be different. So there is the disconnection. We're actually all one, and that's why building a city is so important, not to just have urban designers, but also creating, you know, a sort of a time machines of who are these people who are going to live there, but what are the conditions today that needs to be improved. For me, very, very importantly, is the gut microbiome health, which is not really much explored. And the beautiful thing is, I think we have been looking at the macro so much that we have not learned the micro. And if we can learn so much from how bacteria behave.
And I have the title of the next, that maybe
Don't
there will be.
spoil.
No, it comes to me. Maybe I won't be here, maybe there won't be another edition, who knows, but could be the city are inside us.
Nice, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.